welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. Now, in the last episode, we had the first launch of this rover, and things didn't quite go very well. It barely managed to almost achieve orbit, and things, it could have been a lot better. And so, it was back to the drawing board time, and the first thing I did was to try to rearrange things on the rover itself so that the center of mass was a little better placed and so on. And then I spent the next couple of hours doing some design and testing on a new launch vehicle to get it up into orbit, making liberal use of KW rocketry engines and SRBs and the medium strength struts and so on. I've got some nav lights on this thing. It's got headlights. And of course, there is lights in the landing gear bays as well. Plenty of batteries and solar panels. So, I'm thinking that this thing has got a much better chance of delivering this rover to Minmus. So we make our crew selection here. And how about the guy with plenty of courage and no stupid? And so now we will adjourn to the launch pad and see how this thing flies. Alright, here we are settling in on the launch pad. Everything looks okay. Nothing has broken on launch, so that's good. And so, pop up our resources, set this for attitude control. I figure 469 parts at launch. It's probably going to have a little bit of a control issue, which is why I've got this up here. And so, let's throttle it up, launch it, see how she flies. And let's rock. So far. A slow but smooth launch. Engage 90-degree attitude hold. Looking good. Version of the ship, Sherbet Rover 1. Since it's going to Minmus and the launch is successful, I thought that was appropriate. We have a nice, clean, smooth liftoff. We're flying good. We have a good thrust-to-weight ratio. It's getting better as we burn fuel, of course. In fact, I am now going to throttle back the liquid-fueled engines to keep us from exceeding the terminal velocity, so that we're not wasting fuel trying to push faster than we need to. We'll throttle back up as soon as the solid fuel burns out. velocity is. I'm going to go ahead and go for throttle up. We have overheat warnings, but I am confident that they will not reach enough overheat for anything to explode. Solid boosters away. First set of liquid boosters away. Pitch to 85 degrees at about 5 kilometers. Still climbing and accelerating. We're looking good. Degrees. And we have plenty of lights on this thing. Be able to see it even in the dark of space. Looks like it's going pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and make a cut to orbit and cut back in sooner if anything happens unexpected. Alright, we're getting some good progress here. Apoapsis is 75 kilometers. I'm pitching over to 0 degrees onto the horizon, and we're only about halfway into this first fuel tank on the orbital insertion stage. This is looking very good. Concentrating now on exclusively gaining horizontal velocity to bring the periapsis up. The apoapsis will continue to rise for a while, but that's perfectly fine. And we now have our You're in Space music. Unless something should go catastrophically wrong, I'll see you in orbit. And here we are. Periapsis is coming up quickly. We're almost completely in orbit. Apoapsis is going high, but really, that's perfectly okay. We want to get the periapsis up as fast as possible, so that we don't descend any lower into the atmosphere than we have to. And we're just kind of sipping fuel on this tank because of this particular engine, the service propulsion system from KW Rocketry. And it's doing a very good job. I'm going to cut off when the apoapsis hits 300. Okay, it will come down a little bit as we coast around. but we won't go any lower than 64 kilometers. Okay, we're high enough to use real-time warp now. And in fact, now is a good time to go ahead and plot that circularization burn. Snap it to the apoapsis. Okay, that looks good. Lined up with it. Set an alarm for it. 44-second burn. So we only need a 30-second alarm. It will burn at 22 seconds. T-minus 22 seconds before the burn, before the node. Right, we're locked in, and let's time warp it. Okay, burning at T-minus 22. A 300-kilometer circular orbit with plenty of gas left for getting this thing to Minmus. This is not going to be a problem. Looking good. All right, 299 by 302 looks good for me. All right. Okay, let's get our target. Ascending node, 5.8 degrees. And that's positive, so we'll need some negative normal here. Getting real close. Whole point 1 looks good. Alright, time to burn this thing. I think I was a little bit late on starting it, but that shouldn't be a problem. Relative inclination coming down. Working out just exactly as planned. And that's going to leave us plenty of fuel for the Minmus transfer. Okay, 0.02. It's pretty good. Alright, now where is Minmus in its orbit? It's right there. I'm going to drop the burn right here. We'll catch it next time around on the orbit. Or not. Alright, we need to move this forward in time. Well, that's not going to be very useful. Try moving it back. See what we can do for our closest approach. Getting better. We have an encounter. See if we can fine-tune that a little bit just by changing the launch time. Minmus periapsis down to 403 kilometers. Let's see what we can do to improve that. $172. Minmus periapsis 57 kilometers. Looks good. Okay, setting an alarm. 2-minute warning should be sufficient here. The 3-minute 25-second burn, and so we'll be burning at 1 minute 30 plus half of 25, so 1 minute 42 seconds. And that will get us to Minmus, and we'll see if we can get some rover-powered science at Minmus with this thing. And time warping around. Okay, we're in position. It's just about time. And we burn. Departing Kerbin for Minmus orbit, ejection bird with like 2,600 meters a second of velocity available just at the beginning of the trans-Minmus burn. All right. And I'll be back when this burn is completed. Alright, burn is almost done here. I've throttled way back to keep from overshooting. Throttling back a little bit more. Almost to minimum thrust now. Closest approach distance is coming down very nicely. And the nice thing about this orbit is that if we should happen to miss Minmus, for whatever reason, we have a free return trajectory. Getting very close. We should have our encounter show up real soon. There it is. I think that's good enough right there. We can fine-tune it as we get closer, but we have a good encounter. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. 340 some-ish kilometer periapsis. This one is showing 430-ish. We'll see. And now we set our next alarm for sphere of influence at Minmus and time warp. And here we are, right on time. And here we go. All right. There's our big ball of lime sherbet. And now let's get an orbital insertion burn at periapsis. Bring this down to a suitably low orbit for Minmus. About a 46-kilometer periapsis is probably a good place to start. I can go ahead and schedule this. 36-second burn, so burn at about 15 seconds. And we'll be arriving in Minmus orbit on a fairly low inclination. It's that, so we'll have our pick of the equatorial landing sites available. Okay, arriving on the night side of Minmus. And I know I was late on the burn that time, but it shouldn't be critical. Still have boatloads of fuel left in this transfer stage. All right. I'll just hop down here to periapsis. Do a circularization burn. Okay. 35 by 38 looks good. And the final bit of time warp for this bit. Okay, looking good. We have arrived. Minmus orbit. And next time out, we'll be landing this thing, probably in that lake. That's a good place to start. Nice, easy landing site. And we'll take this rover out for a test drive and see how it performs under actual working circumstances. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.